In this video we're going to focus in on the onCheckChange method that we had created. Now just to reiterate what's going on here, to try to make sense of it if you're new to it and it's not making sense yet, the class that we have up here is going to implement this radio group.onCheckChange listener, so it's going to work for our radio groups. Now it's implementing it here in our class, which everything that we have code in here is going to be part of our class. And come down here, you can see that we've taken RG1, which is a radio group that we set in the line above this to equal that radio group 1 that we had from our XML. And I know it's a lot of running around here in our code, but to make sense of it all, we've gone ahead and implemented it here in our class. We have set this RG1 to equal the XML file, and then here on this step we went ahead and said set that onCheckChange listener to our radio group 1. And the reason why we had to do that is because we could possibly have more than one radio group. And so now that we've got that set up, what we're going to do here is, this is where the area for the code, this method is going to run anytime something changes within my radio group 1. Now if you think about the radio group, it's 3 different radio buttons. So basically anytime one of those buttons changes its state, then it's going to go ahead and run the code that's going to be within this area here. So I know it's a lot of stuff that's going on, but hopefully we can get going here and understand it. And once we do quite a few of these, in fact in the project 2 we kind of did something similar to this, and we're doing it here in this project as well. Hopefully you're starting to grasp the idea. So let's go ahead and take a look here. onCheckChange, it says radio group, and then we've got this group. This here needs to be replaced with whatever radio group it is that we want it to work with. And the radio group that I want it to work with is going to be RG1, the code that I use here in my Java to represent that. So I'm going to go ahead and type in RG1. So we're going to listen on radio group RG1. This integer right here is going to be, we can pass in a parameter and I can give it any name that I want. I'm just going to use I for that. That's going to have to be set to be equal to whatever radio button it is that we're working with. And so I'll show you here what I mean by that. If we look here and write our code between these curly braces, so this whole method is going to start here and end there. That's where all my code has to be written to apply this. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with a conditional statement that just says if, and then what we're going to say if I, which I is right here, if I ends up equaling, or is equal to, which means that we need to put 2 equal signs. If we're going to compare for equality, we need 2 equal signs. If it's equal to my first radio button, which my first radio button, if you look at my up here in my code on the onCreate method, is RB1. So if I is equal to RB1, we're saying go ahead and do something. Now the reason I can't, and the reason why it's still got a little squiggly line here, is because the way this works is this is an integer that's being passed in here, RB1 is not, and so what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to actually need to get its ID number. So what I'll do is just type in order to work with this, we're going to have to just type in get ID, and you can start seeing that it's there, and I'll just put the 2 parentheses after that, get ID. And so we're going to say if I is equal to my radio button 1's identification number, then we're going to go ahead and execute some code. And now to execute code, if it's going to be just 1 line of code, then I don't need to have curly braces. However, the curly braces are kind of like the beginning and ending part of a section, and I'm going to go ahead and have more than 1 line of code, so I definitely want to have an opening curly brace, and if I hit enter, it automatically will generate the closing curly brace, and you can see that I've got 3 of them now. This is the opening and this is the closing. So within this if statement or conditional statement, this is where all my code will be written for this particular line of code. So or this condition. So let's go ahead and write some things. So now we're saying if radio button 1 has been selected, what do we want to happen? Well, here's what we need to happen. We need to be able to take that text that we type in, or the number we type in from our first text box, and we need to multiply it by 10% and then take the output and put it in my second text box. So we're going to have to do a couple different things here in order for this to work. And so this is where we're going to start working with some variables. And so you can see up here when we declared this ET1 edit text, we gave it the type first and then the name. Same thing's going to apply here with variables. And so there are a couple different variable types that are out there. In fact, if you like to work ahead, you can always go and look at Java code and see what kind of variable types there are to work with. But we're working with a number that's going to have a decimal point. And so the decimal point is going to end up being what's called a double in this language. So I'm going to type in double, and that's going to be the type that I want to work with. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a name. And to make it easy, I'm just going to be whatever the bill total was. So I'm going to call it bill. So double bill, and I'm going to set it equal to, and what I want to set it equal to is whatever is in that ET1 that I've been working with, the EditText I. However, I can't just do that. You look to see there's a squiggly line underneath there. I've got an error, I've got a problem. It can't just be that. What I need to do is I need to take the text value of that. So I'm going to go ahead and type in a period after that, and I can have a little method that says get the text. So just get text, and then I'll go ahead and put the opening and opening and ending parenthesis there. So I've got get text, and I'm going to go ahead and end it with a semicolon, and you can see that I still have a problem. And the problem is the fact that this is a string that I'm pulling out of here, and this is a number, and there are two different types of or objects or data types. And so what I'll need to do is, I know this is it keeps building on, but once you've got the code, you can always kind of reuse it. They have it, but I'm going to need to run the parse double method, and it starts off with the word double in front of it, dot parse. And you can see that it's showing up now. And you can see that in here it says parse double, and it's a string, and what it's going to end up doing is it's going to give it to me as an output of a double, which is what I need for this data type. So double dot parse, parse double, there we go, and I have an opening parenthesis, and I need to end the parenthesis over here. Alright, so we're almost there. I still have a problem. And it says the method parse double, and it's supposed to have a string, is in the type double is not applicable for the arguments, and it says that it's editable in there currently right now. And so this is editable, and so what I need to do now is I need to convert this et1.getText to a string rather than what Android's calling it as an editable type. And so let's go ahead and convert this to a string, and to convert that to a string, what we'll do is at the end of getText, we're going to type in dot to string. There we go. And finally, all my curly braces or my squiggly lines have gone away. So it's a lot of code there. I tried to explain it to you as best as I can. For more references, I know that I'm going through as a project rather than step by step of every different concept that's available here within Android programming, but definitely for more references, reference Java programming, because this is what it's all built on. And so these are the same methods and so forth that you'll find within the Java language. So we've got a number that I created called, it's going to be the type double. It's going to be called bill, and bill is going to be equal to whatever's in my ET1 text box or the edit text that I have. That's going to be converted to a string. And then also, when it's converted to a string, we have another method that's going to convert it back to a double, and that's going to allow me to be able to work with it as a number. And that was what my whole purpose was to try to get what's in that text box or the edit text and to work with it like it's a number. And so now that I have that there, I can actually work with it like it's a number. In fact, I'll go ahead and hit enter here. The next line, I'm just going to go ahead and type in double, and then we're going to say, so it's going to be another variable we're going to create, double, and we're just going to call this one here, instead of bill, I'm going to call this one tip. And so double tip, and I'm going to set this one equal to bill, and I'm going to go ahead and times it by 0.1 and end that with a semicolon. And you can see what I've got here is I'm taking whatever the bill is and I'm multiplying it by 10%, or 0.1, which is saying give me 10% of whatever bill is. This is the math problem. Now I have it lowercase here. A lot of times people write it with uppercase letters for the variables too, and if that's the case, now I'll just take to show you here, bill here is now in lowercase, and so it's telling me that I can't find that one, so I'm going to have to uppercase that one, and I'm going to go ahead and uppercase tip and the variables that I'm going to create here in this particular project are all going to start with the uppercase for things other than what I created up here, just because I'm just changing it up a little bit down here to show you that upper and lowercase is going to make a huge difference within my variables. So there we go, bill, tip, bill, and now, so if I were to ever use the value of this number, it would be whatever was in my bill text box times 0.1 or 10% of it. Alright, so now that I've got that there, we're going to go ahead and do one more double, and I'll just call this double total. I'm going to set it equal to whatever the bill was plus the tip. So it's just some simple math that I've got there. And I'm going to use the variables that I have created that hold that there. So now what I'll need to do is I'm going to need to go ahead and place these values within the text box itself. And I'm going to go ahead and do that in the next video.